Answers. Her husband was killed in Cameron County last year. A criminal trial is scheduled for later this summer. Channel 5's Joe Augustine tells us that trial won't likely give her the answers she needs.
Eddie loved to go to the beach.
These are the moments before life changes.
He really was the light of my husband's life.
These are the moments after.
He was the most loving husband.
A wife becomes a widow and a son loses his father.
He was only 9 months old when this happened.
Eddie Polanco loved his family, his country, and he loved to run.
He had run all the way down Highway 100.
It was March 18th, 2012.
Just kept nervously going out to the road and looking.
Cara Polanco knows nerves. She waited 2 tours for her husband to come home from Iraq.
I did not know anything was wrong.
She didn't know life was about to change.
I had severe head trauma.
Nearly 3 years after returning from war, 10 months after the birth of his son, and just weeks after marrying the love of his life, Eddie was killed on the side of Highway 100.
We were very much in love.
An accident report says a driver unknowingly veered right.
Given the facts of this case,
26-year-old Juan Carlos Garcia is charged with negligent homicide. Investigators believe Garcia fell asleep behind the wheel.
The fact that these two people came together at the same time on that long stretch of road is shocking.
Cara Polanco's shock would eventually shift to anger.
The car should have been impounded, but it wasn't.
The car that hit and killed Eddie was stopped by a state trooper just minutes before the accident. Same road, same day. According to the Cameron County District Attorney's Office, Juan Carlos Garcia wasn't driving at that time. A statement from the DA's office says, quote, during the first stop, the driver was instructed by the DPS trooper to allow someone else to drive. That someone else was Garcia.
Prosecutors say when Garcia took over behind the wheel, he was sober. But according to this accident report, he did not have a license.
That it could have been prevented was heartbreaking.
We asked DPS about that first traffic stop on Highway 100. A DPS spokesman in Austin would only say we do not comment on pending litigation.
I've tried contacting them, I've emailed them.
Cara Polanco can't get answers either. She doesn't know how to explain the accident to her 2-year-old son.
Every milestone's difficult because he's not here to see it.
These are the moments after life changes. A widow without a husband to kiss, a son without a father to hug, and a beach that will never be the same. Joe Augustine, Channel 5 News, Cameron County.
Well, we requested a copy of the DPS policy on traffic stops. It says, in part, an officer may allow passengers to drive the vehicle away if this can be done lawfully and with the consent of the owner or person in control of the vehicle. Juan Carlos Garcia could not lawfully take over behind the wheel because he did not have a driver's license. But as Joe pointed out in his story, Cameron County prosecutors say Garcia was told to drive by a state trooper. The policy does allow troopers to use reasonable discretion in extenuating circumstances. We do not know the circumstances of that first traffic stop because DPS will not comment.
This dash cam video from that traffic stop shows exactly what we first reported back in June. The trooper pulled the car over and told Juan Carlos Garcia to drive. The most important part of this video, though, isn't what you see. It's what you hear.
I couldn't really hear what he was saying, but I mean, it was fortunate that my microphone picked it up.
State Trooper Enrique Cantu says he couldn't make out what Juan Carlos Garcia said on the side of Highway 100.
It's very windy. I can't recall if I really heard it or not.
We do know the trooper did not ask the question again. Trooper Cantu pulled over this Ford Mustang back on March 18th, 2012. The original driver passed a field sobriety test but was ticketed for reckless driving. The trooper searched the car for alcohol. He was concerned about a sick teenage girl riding in the front seat. The trooper concluded the girl was okay and Juan Carlos Garcia was not intoxicated. He then told Garcia to get behind the wheel.
It was my impression that Mr. Garcia was had more dialogue, was more calm and collected.
Garcia climbed over the seat and then pulled the Ford Mustang back onto Highway 100. Roughly 30 minutes later, on that same road, that car hit and killed Eddie Polanco. We looked up the DPS policy on traffic stops when we first reported this story back in June. It says, in part, an officer may allow a passenger to drive the vehicle away if this can be done lawfully and with the consent of the owner or person in control of the vehicle. Juan Carlos Garcia could not lawfully drive that vehicle on Highway 100 because he did not have a license. But the policy also says troopers are allowed to use reasonable discretion in extenuating circumstances. We called DPS headquarters in Austin today. We wanted to know if that traffic stop on Highway 100 qualified as an extenuating circumstance. DPS would not comment because of the ongoing criminal trial and pending civil litigation. Reporting in the studio, I'm Joe Augustine, Channel 5 News at 6.